Hello, everyone. It's Helen here with Helping It with Helen. Thanks for joining me for today's very short Bible study. We are going to briefly touch on chapters 1 through 3 in the book of Exodus. I thought that this would make a really good discussion, though, because I felt like this is a topic that we could all relate to, and that is deliverance. We are all needing deliverance from something in one way, shape, or form, and the Israelites are needing deliverance in their lives. And I'm like, I have personally seen God deliver me from so many different things in my own life. And there's even an area right now where I'm needing deliverance again, and I'm calling upon the name of the Lord, because these are those circumstances which I know we can all relate to, where you know that if God doesn't show up with his strong arm, his strong hand, or his miracles, there's absolutely no way you are going to be able to get over something that you are dealing with right now in your life. And that's exactly where they were at this point in time. And God is going to come in with an exodus. That means an exit, a fresh start, a new beginning. He's going to migrate them. He's going to take them from Egypt, where they are being held captive, being oppressed, being slaves, and he's going to lead them on to the promised land, because God is faithful and he always shows up and he always hears our prayers. He sees our tears, and he is a deliverer. And that's why I was like, we can all relate to this today, because just think about it for just a second. What are you needing to be delivered from? I know that I have something very specific that I need deliverance from, and I have to go back and I have to remember the times that God has delivered me from certain things. And I need to be like, God, I know that you're faithful. I know you've done it before, and I know you'll do it again. And so today, this is just really about stirring back up our faith, stirring up our hope, and just reminding ourselves who God is, and that he is the God who loves, he's the God who sees, he's the God who hears, he's the God who cares, and he is the great deliverer. And so I'm always like, God, I need your deliverance. And I know for a fact that he shows up and he will hear. In fact, it says it right here. I love this, you guys. It's so good. If I can find it. Oh, here it is. Okay, we're in chapter 2 right here, but it says, years had passed and the king of Egypt died, but the Israelites continued to groan under the burden of slavery. They cried out for help. So they're crying out to God, and their cry rose up to God. That's what I love. It's like, so when we're crying out, it's like our cries are going right up to God's ears. He hears them. God heard their groaning, and he remembered his covenant promise to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He looked down on his people of Israel, and he knew it was time to act. And I feel like right now he's looking down on his children, and he's like, it's time to act. So whatever we are praying to God for, he is hearing, and he is getting ready to deliver us from that. And not only that, he is going to walk with us through every single step of it. He never, ever leaves our side. Just like he doesn't leave the Israelite side, he is not going to leave our side either. I just got to thinking, sorry, that's why I got so tongue-tied, but I was just thinking about how it was supposed to be that 11-day journey. Like, it could have been a sweet little 11-day journey in the wilderness with God leading and guiding and directing his chosens. However, it ended up being a 40-year debacle in the wilderness. We can make it so much harder than it needs to be. Can we not just give God back his job and trust him? Because that's what we need to do, guys. We can trust him, and that's exactly what the book of Exodus is about. You get to learn all about God and his heart and his strong hand and his strong arm and his delivering power and his miracles. And that's why I love the book of Exodus. But we have got to give God his job back, because we get in the way so often, and we start to murmur and grumble and complain, and it gets us into a lot of trouble. And God is like, I want you to have faith. I want you to trust me. I want you to believe, and I want you to obey, and I'll do the rest. All right. And the obeying part, because you're like, well, God, what do you want me to do? Guys, he's pretty specific. I mean, here he talks to them in person. And so I get it. And he's talking to us too. Trust me. Holy Spirit is talking to you constantly, talking to me constantly. God's living in your heart. We've got the book of instruction. He's talking to us in the same way. So guys, this really isn't like, he's not the author of confusion. We already know that that's the enemy. No, he's the God of clarity and transparency and wisdom and discernment. So he's going to give you whatever you need and whatever we ask for. We just have to ask and we have to obey. And so That's kind of what I got out of chapter 1. I'm only going to touch on this just a little bit briefly, but chapter 1, I love to break it down into paragraphs and just go through it. And it just really was a reminder to me that God's got it taken care of, Helen, like down to the tiniest itsy bitsy detail. He's got it taken care of. You don't have to take care of it. He knows exactly what's going to happen. He knows the beginning from the end from the beginning. And so we sit there and we think we need to know every single thing and how we're going to do this and how we're going to do that. And we don't. God's already got a plan. He's already got it. In fact, right here, the Israelites, his chosen ones, they're in a foreign nation. They're in Egypt. They've been there for 400 years. They are now being oppressed. They're slaves. The Pharaoh is afraid that they're going to get too big and overpower them. So now he's wanting all the little boys to be killed. The little girls can live, but the boys can't. But God's already got this backup plan. Little boys are being born left and right because nobody's going to tell God what to do, especially with his children. And then Moses is born. Moses is a special little baby. The mom knew it from the get-go, made him a basket, floated him on down the river. He's floating. The Pharaoh's daughter finds him, raises him up in the palace. So God already knew all of that would happen. And not only that, Moses, the baby, would be the one who would end up delivering the Israelites out of captivity, out of slavery, getting them out of Egypt and start taking them to the promised land. God had a plan, and he's got a plan for you. He's got a plan for me. So that's why I'm like, guys, we can rest easy. And that's why we get back in these books. And that's why we read them. And that's why we read through Exodus. And that's why we read through Genesis, because it just gives us so much hope. In fact, I just got out of the whole book of Genesis. Guys, get into Genesis. So good. Not only does it talk about creation and how God created the whole world and all of existence and his great love and how he poured it out on us and how important we are to him, but it just talks about the fall of humanity too. And we can relate. We can so relate with all the people in there, and you're just like, wow, ooh, wow, that didn't take long. And then you're just like, okay, God, you still used them, you still love them, you still did great things through them, and not necessarily because they were so great, but because of your great love and because of your covenant and because of your promises and because of who you are. So what I've learned about God, when he makes a covenant with someone, a promise with someone, he keeps his promises, you guys. So he made promises with Abraham, Jacob, Isaac. And so he keeps his promises to his children and his chosen ones. And so whoever falls underneath of that usually ends up getting blessed because of the covenants and the promises that he made with certain people. And so guys, we are blessed because guess what? He made a covenant with Jesus, didn't he? Because Jesus died for all of our sins. And you're just like, whoever believes in you will have eternal life. And so because Jesus lives and because Jesus died for us, now we get to live and we get to have everlasting life. And it's not because of anything that we could have ever done or will ever do. It's all because of what he did. And we get to have that free gift. And it cost God every single thing. And so what I do know is God does not break his promises. He does not break his covenants. And it's not because we're so great. It's not because of something horrible that we would do. And it's not because of something great we will do. It's because of the promises that he made to his chosen people. And so guys, we can relax a little bit. Yes, we have to take it serious, but we can also relax and not take ourselves quite so serious because God's like, because right here, Moses is a baby. He's a special baby. He's raised by the Pharaoh's daughter, but he's growing up, and now he knows he has a calling on his life, but he ends up getting into, well, he goes to visit his people. So he leaves the Egyptians. He goes to visit his Hebrew family, and then he ends up coming across an Egyptian beating one of his people. Well, he ends up killing him, and he ends up burying him, and the word gets out of what he had done. And so he goes on the run, and at this point in time, he thinks it's over. He thinks his life is over. He thinks there is no hope for him. He thinks God is absolutely finished with him. And how many times have we made mistakes where we feel like God is done with us? He's finished with us because we've made mistakes too. Well, rest assured, read through Genesis and read through this. God is not done with you because you've made some mistakes, okay? He's not finished with you. In fact, nothing can stop God's plan for your life. There was nothing that was going to stop God's plan for Moses' life. In fact, he shows up to Moses many, 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 many years later. So we get on our own time schedule. And if we haven't heard from God or if we haven't seen anything in a while, we think, okay, he doesn't care. He doesn't love me. He's done with me. And it's not true. It's not true. In fact, he shows up to Moses many, many, many years later, and Moses just ended up settling in some land, got married, had a kid, maybe had a few. I'd have to go back and read it. But Moses just was settling. And then all of a sudden, guess what? He shows up to Moses in a burning bush and he says, Moses. And he tells him exactly what he wants him to go and do. So nothing's going to stop God's plan for your life. And so he shows up to Moses, and Moses does what all of us would do, right? He starts asking questions. God is going to tell him now, hey, Moses, this is exactly to a T what I want you to do. And Moses kind of shrinks back and he's just like, whoa, why me? Not me. And we do that too. God tells us in our heart, and you have a knowing, you have an impression, you have gifts and abilities. And God's like, I want you to go use those gifts. And yet you will come up with every single excuse why you can't do it. And that's exactly what Moses is doing here, but God's just not having it. He's just like, nope, you're going to do it. You're going to go. You're going to do it. You're my chosen one. You're my chosen vessel to go and take my people out of Egypt into the promised land. Now, don't get me wrong. If you actually reject it and you don't want to do it, God will find someone else. However, I think it's always in our best interest to go and do what God is asking us to do. And usually the first time would be better than probably the second time, because let's take Jonah. He was swallowed by a big fish because he went in the opposite direction than God was telling him to go. So I think when God tells us to go, we should go. But right here, God says, Moses. And he's just like, I'm needing you to go and do this. And so what Moses says here, though, Moses protested to God, who am I to appear before the Pharaoh? Who am I to lead the people of Israel out of Egypt? So he was questioning his own strength, his own abilities. And that's what we always do. We're always leaning on us, me, the flesh. I can't do it. But guys, that's exactly it. God's not asking us to do it. He's saying, I want you to do it, but I'm going to be your strength. I'm going to be your helper. I'm going to be your guide. I'm going to be the one who goes with you and helps you. And our own strength, we can't do anything. But he's just like, with Christ, you can do all things. So Moses is like trying to do this in his own strength, where God is about to tell him, like, you're not going to have to do this alone. I'm going to go with you. And so he says, God answered, I will be with you. Guys, God's always going to be with us. He tells us that over and over and over and over in the Bible. I'm going to be with you. I'm going to be with you. I'm never going to leave you. I'm never going to forsake you. And this is your sign that I am the one who has sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you will worship God at this very mountain. But Moses protested, if I go to the people of Israel and tell them the God of your ancestors sent me to you, they will ask me, what is his name? And he goes, and what should I tell them? I love that part. Could we not? I could see me like, what should I say? And what should I tell him? It's just like he's sitting there talking to God. And you see this all through the Bible when people are confronted with God and they're just like, they ask some of the most funny questions. But I'm like, Helen, you would probably ask the same exact thing. And he's just like, well, what should I tell them? And God replies to Moses, I am who I am. Say this to the people of Israel. I am has sent me to you. God also said to Moses, say this to the people of Israel as well. Yahweh, the God of your ancestors, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, sent me to you. And he said, this will be my eternal name, my name to remember for all generations. Guys, I'm sorry. The dogs heard a truck drive by. So yeah. Anyways, I love this part right here though, because he says, I am who I am. And I think we can just leave on that note. I think I've talked about this before in one of my videos, but how cool is that? God doesn't have to explain who he is. He just says, I am. I am all things. Guys, let's not forget who God is in our lives, okay? Right here, Moses is all about Moses. He's like, who am I? And what will I tell them? And what will they think? And he's not going to let them go. And God's just like, I'm going to be with you, as he promises to be with us. And he's like, just tell him I am is with me. I am. He's all things. And guys, in our life, we can go into any situation knowing that the great I am is with us too. He's going to be the one who's going to deliver us. He's going to be the one who's going to protect us. He's going to heal us. He's going to restore us and redeem us and provide for us. He is all things. He's the great I am. And right here, he's like, I am. And so I believe today is a great day if you are needing deliverance for something, just to remember who God is. Remember that he's faithful. Remember that he's loyal. Remember how much he loves you. Go and read through the first 3 chapters of Exodus and get yourself all fired up. Get yourself all stirred up just like I did. And I'm just like, God, why was I even worried about it to begin with? I know you have it. I know you have a plan. I know you hear my prayers. I know you're going to show up at your perfect time. I know that you are all things, and anything that you will ever have me go through or anything that you'll ever ask me to do, you will be there with me. And guys, if we are still here, as I always say, and you're watching and I am making this video, obviously he has gotten us through every single thing up until this point, and he will continue to, because that's our God. And so I'm going to leave on that note right there, and we will do some more Bible studies here in the next few weeks on the book of Exodus, because I really feel like there's going to be a lot of things that we're going to want to touch on. Again, I apologize for the background noise today, but I've already tried to make this video a couple times, so I'm not going to make it again. So you guys are just going to have to hear the puppy growls in the back. But anyways, God bless and have a great day. Bye.